I'm quitting swimming. I quit swimming. Yes, I did. Why? Well, that's always the question with me, right? And people from my generation, for people who stereotype us. So this is on quitting swimming. And I mean, like, not any of that, like, people who don't know how to take breaks and then say 2 days off as a break. No, I mean, like, 5 years of not getting in a pool, not 5 years of not doing a single practice, like, as part of a team or solo. I did go swimming in the beach at Waikiki. I did get in the water. That was a big thing after getting raped. But quitting swimming, that actually is the biggest reason. I've tried filming this before and I couldn't get right to the point, so there, I said it. Getting raped kind of disrupted my life and my patterns, and I stopped swimming, and there was a bunch of kind of frustration with swimming in general. Like, when I was a lap swimmer and when I was a lifeguard / swim instructor, I would be discriminated against, harassed, and had attempted physical and sexual assault. And so there's a lot of issues there for getting on a pool deck in a skimpy little suit, because that's what you need to swim. And not like a Nike skimpy suit. Like, Speedos have stuff that covers you up, and you can get other suits that cover you up as well. But I was like, do I really want to wear this? And so for over 5 years, I didn't get into a pool. I tried swimming at the beach with some of my friends in Waikiki, because I lived in Honolulu for a hair under 3 years, like 2 years and 10 months or something like that, and full time, and for school, or when I was in school. Yeah, and so that was it. I didn't practice. I didn't do workouts with training for swimming in mind. It was a quit swimming and acknowledgement internally that I was not getting in the water for these bad things that had happened to me. And I would just kind of say, it's like, I've just had stuff happen and I don't want to get in the water, when people would ask. And I wouldn't ever go further than that. So it's my first time opening up on the full scale and cause for my not swimming. I also had I wore the cartilage out under my kneecaps pretty severe, and so I had some pain when doing breaststroke, and I'm a breaststroker, so I was like, well, that's, I guess, a silver lining in this situation where the stopping of swimming. So I was raped in 2012, and then didn't swim again in a pool until 2018. So yeah, it's over 5 years. And yeah, it was for me. I was like, especially in today's day and age, the female competitive swimmer types, like at Olympic level and college level and stuff like that, can be very rude and very insensitive to those of us who have traumas. And I realized kind of in 2018, so quitting swimming is kind of like current. So there was the first kind of phase, which was like sexual assault, attempted sexual and physical assault, and harassment and stuff like that was unwanted, and yeah, and unprompted, like, these people were just going out of their ways to kind of make me uncomfortable and make me uncomfortable in a swimsuit and in a swim deck, and nothing related to how I looked. Well, except for, like, people would be like, where's the hot girl and stuff like that, and so just like, I'm not putting up with this. First off, gain weight. That conquers one of the problem. Haven't gotten anything like those comments since. Feels nice. And then let's see, so quitting swimming. The other thing I noticed, so I spent over 5 years where I didn't get in a pool. None of these lousy, I'm gonna take a 2-day break. That's not a real break, honey. Like, this is like weeks to months to years. And there are people who've done decades breaks. So like, I'm not far into the spectrum at all. So why, I said at the beginning of this, with my generation, it's always why. So what's my generation? So my generation is Generation Y, and I like to spell that out. From an external perspective, we've been labeled millennials. That's not really a term that's used, or it's used mockingly within our generation for those who call us millennials. And so I'm not actually going to write that term down because that's not a term I self-identify with. The time range or birth range I'm going to include in this is 1980 to 1995. After 1995, the technological differences in what was available on the internet and stuff like that becomes pretty, what one grows up with in their developmental years becomes pretty different. And how do I know that? Because I have over a decade of teaching and mentoring experience with people from Generation Z. And so for that, I'm going to go to the age range I've had experience with. So 1995 to 2010. It's not a bad thing. We just grew up with different technologies and companies and stuff like that during our developmental years. So it's just a difference, and that needs to be taken into account for communication. But yeah, and just kind of respecting people's pasts. So Generation Z, so this is kind of how I'm breaking it down. And why am I bringing this up? Because why? Generation Y. Y drives us. That's why I call it Generation Y, as in WHY for Generation Y. Known by some as millennials. And so I got back in the pool and I swam for a little bit in 2018. Ended up being a few months, I think, that I would swim off and on. And I entered myself into races but didn't end up swimming in the races. And I noticed we would sometimes have, like, lap swim would abut the young youth swim practice. And and it might have been, so this was in California as opposed to Washington State, but some of the females on the team who would come into the locker rooms afterwards were like, not kind to those of us who were not on the youth swim team. So I guess that's like ageism, discrimination based on age. But it was kind of I have past traumas that I'm recovering from, and I don't need some young punks who are oblivious or ignorant, or who knows, maybe they're the bad kind of person themselves, right? I was raped, so I have to accept the reality of there are rapists running around in the world. I didn't report it, or I did, but I didn't pursue it legally, that kind of thing. And so that actually is pretty common. And so just being aware of, do I want to put up with people who are going to, instead of just kind of leave a person be, kind of harass me in a locker room setting where I've already had my body violated without my consent? Do I need verbal implied violation of my body, or verbal put downs of my body, or anything like that, or direct physical assault? And there was a new vibe, very different vibe. Because that was not the case when I was on swim team. We had the saboteurs. It makes the sabotage kind of swimmers look nice compared to some of these younger youth swimmers I had to interact with in the locker room, and I was just kind of no, this isn't the right time. Or it's not the right place, or neither. And so I've decided to quit swimming because of just kind of, in watching this swimmers, competitive swimmers. So I'm fast enough of a swimmer that people start to get frustrated if I just lap swim. So then it's kind of, okay, swim team, back to swim team if I want to swim, laps fast kind of thing. So then it kind of enters into the competitive environment. And so just being aware of like the social scene in swimming has changed from when I was in swimming, and it's not so, I think maybe respectful is the right word. Like people don't, and this has come through a bit in the news I've read from like, especially like the 2016 Summer Olympics, like people aren't so respectful of other athletes and their past and their like potential traumas they've gone through. And that carried through on even stronger level from my experiences in the locker room, just like at a local pool kind of thing with the youth swim team. And I was just like, do I want to put up with people who are either the bad kind of person themselves that's done me harm in the past, or who just are ignorant or disrespectful naturally? And I was just kind of like, no, I'm not. And so I haven't returned to swimming for that reason. I think it's very location and people dependent. So like it could have just been a really bad spot with some really bad apples, or it's just this one experience. So maybe I should push myself and go to another pool, and that kind of thing, to start swimming. The local pool, public pool in Shoreline, is closing down though. So like there's just kind of a perfect storm as to swimming is expensive too, and I don't have an income. So yeah, so a little bit of a reality check for socioeconomic class. No income. I think the swimming is a little higher up there on the money income level. So like in terms of what is needed to actually participate in the sport. So, and yeah, can be downright exorbitant if people do like, yeah. And so we'll leave it at that. So I have decided to, the phrase is hang up my hat on swimming. So it's like, that means to leave something permanently. It's different than the phrase hang up a hat. Here's the English lesson. Hang up one's hat. That means you like take up a residence in a place. Hang one's hat. No, hang one's hat is to take up residence in a place. Hang up one's hat means like you take it off and you permanently set something aside. You're no longer going to do it. And so that's swimming for me, where I'm no longer, it's just no. I've got a whole lot of other things, and this is a no-go for me. So I haven't been in a pool since 2018. It's now 2021. It's been about 2.5 years that I haven't been in the water, period. I could see maybe myself getting in the water for like water polo or something. Something with not so... The lap swimmers were nice. I liked the lap swimmers from the pool, so it was just kind of the youth competition with those of us who were just there to enjoy ourselves. And maybe that's a dynamic that it wasn't as intense, or I just didn't pick up on it. But being on the other side of that, I've kind of realized, whoa, yeah, competitive swim teams can be kind of a toxic culture for those of us who just enjoy the water, or enjoy recreation swim, or enjoy the beach, or enjoy just swimming laps for the pure fun and enjoy swimming laps. That's like a foreign concept to some competitive swimmers. It's like people actually enjoy this, not to get paid, but just because, or not to get a gold medal, or not to compete, but they just like swimming for the feeling of swimming. And I fall into that category. I just love it for it. I don't need to be a professional swimmer. I don't need money to do it. I don't need a medal to do it. Those aren't, that's not, not my source of motivation. I just like it. So right now, no. And largely some bad experiences from the past traumas that I'm dealing with that carry over to current mistreatment. And people just like, and that'll always be there. There'll always be those people who are ignorant and just don't think about people who've actually been through bad things in their life, and how like being raped might affect someone and their ability, and their, it's not confidence, it's like a whole different, it's I had PTSD, severe PTSD for a while, and it kind of comes and goes in waves. So that's post-traumatic stress disorder, if I'm remembering that correctly. And so that comes with a whole lot of different things. And swimming in the pool is a place where that can be really amplified, and especially with people who are ignorant and disrespectful and just like don't think about, oh yeah, there are people who don't have the privilege of not having traumas, right? That is like, we all have our own traumas in our own ways, and then some, like rape can be pretty severe, and just there are a lot of people in this world who don't ever think about like that can have like a profound impact, and then just kind of like talking and being very disrespectful and like implying kind of like violating someone's human rights and just body and stuff like that. And it's just kind of like, I don't need this locker room talk that, well, mission accomplished, right? It gets rid of those of us who had to or not had to, but have suffered. It's just the reality of the situation, physically, emotionally, psychologically, at the hands of others. And yeah, tough topic, if you can't tell. And so, yeah, I still get frustrated with it, but I'm not ready to fight. If I go on a pool deck, that's what I need to be ready to do, because that's kind of competitive swimmers. Not all of them, but some of them are kind of, they like to do stuff like that, right? To take oh, you've experienced something traumatic in the past, let's take and rub that in, let's put salt in that wound intentionally, kind of thing, to hopefully make you swim worse or stuff like that. And it's like, I'm just here to enjoy myself in the first place. And if you get your joy from rubbing salt in someone else's wound, technically you don't even enjoy this. Like, but that's, some people just get joy off of putting other people down, as opposed to what they're actually doing. So like, they might not actually enjoy swimming at all, kind of thing. And so it's just kind of maybe a private pool, but no, I have zero income, so that's not an option. Like, so, but yeah, so I've quit swimming. I have put up my hat on swimming, but not, or hung up my hat. Not hang one's hat, but hang up one's hat. English lesson, which is to leave something. Hang up one's hat is to leave. So like if you were on sentry duty or making sure things were fair and stuff like that and balanced, you can hang up your hat. Everybody needs a break. Speaking from experience, as someone trained in situational awareness and lifeguarding, we had rotations. The lifeguards don't spend 100% of the time up on the chair because they need to be ready to save someone every second they are on that chair. So we had up and down time as part of our work shifts and our rotations as a lifeguard to keep us vigilant. And it's just, the reality of situations is you can't be on all the time. Or you can be, but then you get overworked knees like I did, and it leads to long-term injury. And I don't want to be that swimmer who gets arthritis in my feet because I pointed my toes too much doing flutter kick. That just does not sound like fun